How's that? Put it down, I can hear it. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We've had a terrific rain here in Gauteng, and I'm so glad you can join us. We have a very exciting guest. I'm very proud to have her on. Her name is Nikki Russell, and she is from Panda.org, the Pandemic Data Research and Analytical Data Analysis organization. Sorry, I've got tongue-tied there. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so very cool to have you on. I'm so glad we connected. Small world, very small world.
Yes.
And lovely to have like-minded people. Pardon?
As often happens in Pretoria, small world.
Yes. Pretoria's bike lane, ne? Bike lane. Yeah. But it's amazing that there's still like-minded people. I'm so grateful because I feel like I'm on an island. I do at this stage. I really do when it comes to this whole pandemic and the reaction to that. So tell us a little bit about yourself and who you work for and what Panda is. And I know it's not a furry teddy bear that's black and white, people. It's not that. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So Panda is Pandemics Data and Analytics. It was a group that was started in April 2020, around, with the first lockdown, where it was a group of friends that came together and as a support group, and then decided that they were going to then speak about the things that were going on with government control and all of that kind of stuff that was happening at this time.
The lockdown.
And so they did their research, actuaries in the group, they put a paper together called Years of Life Lost, working out the finances and that kind of stuff about the pandemic and how government should have been acting. And then it's just grown from there. And I'm the communication coordinator for Panda. And I work with, I think it's around like 260 amazing people.
Sure.
Now.
Sure. That's an organization for sure. By the way, guys, if you wish to comment, please, you'll see there's a live chat button at the bottom of your screen. If you want to interact with us, you're more than welcome to ask questions and make comments, ask questions to Nikki or my little amateur self. I don't know all the analytics about the pandemic, but I do know that I'm definitely passionate about what's going on and what the narrative is and what the media is spewing. So if anyone wants to interact, please, you're welcome to do so. I see we have got viewers. So yes, of course, it's a very important topic. And one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on is what really gets my goat, or what makes me sort of boil is, I mean, I have a mother who's in an old age home. And yes, they were vaccinated, and okay, gay Gesundheit, if that's how they had to, because there were deaths that did occur. Some of them not from COVID. I think there was an exaggeration. But so, okay, let's say they feel now safer, okay? Because what we know about the injections at this stage is that they do not do what they're really supposed to do, which is completely protect us. So I see Tracy's here. Hello, Tracy. And hello, Roadrunner. Yes. So yeah, looking forward to this conversation, Trace. Thank you so much. Okay, so like you were saying, so Panda was started by a group of friends who are actually actuaries, and some of them. Okay, wow. Okay, so they
not
had
all of them are actuaries. Some of them are just friends and passionate people
who search for the truth.
Yes, exactly. They started in Cape Town, and now we're international, global, and it's just been incredible to see. I've been part of Panda. I volunteered for Panda in November last year.
Okay.
my initial career was in expos. And so with no expos happening, I was working for an expo called Huntex, and no expos happening, and my boss at that time said that I could volunteer for Panda. So I gave in, and I offered my services to Panda, and I've been working with them ever since. So I've got about a year of knowledge to see how it's grown and how it's developed and how it's really just actually gone from strength to strength. So yes.
Okay. So for people that are watching now or people that will watch the stream, please check out panda.org. Yes?
Pandata.
Pandata.org.
Yeah. Pandata.org.
And usually there are lots of, there's charts, there's graphs, there's information. If you want to check things out, have a look. So do you find, how many members does it currently have?
So we've got, like I said, 260 members.
Okay. I thought those were...
Yeah, that's across the whole thing. So there's 260 members. We've got an EXCO board that are in charge of everything. They oversee how things are being done and all of that kind of stuff. Check that they're on track, all of that. And then the 260 members are from all sorts of disciplines. So it is, it's everything from vaccinologists to doctors to
pathologists,
specialists in all sorts of different fields, from all the way behavioral experts. There is psychologists. There's
psychiatrists.
Huge variety of people.
No, for sure. And I think it's so important that an organization like this exists to give the other side of the story, to make the facts real. And I think what's so incredible is that obviously at the beginning of all of this, in April, March 2020, we were seeing these funny, crazy images coming out of Wuhan and people falling down dead. And we were literally... we shat ourselves. We really did. I did. I was like, okay, I haven't bought the entire SPA's toilet paper, but I went out and I went to the pharmacy. I think I used like all of my savings on my medical aid, and I got like Tamiflu and Panado, and I like Medlemon, and I was really like, okay, I'm prepared now. And the truth is, when I got it, nothing could have prepared me for getting it. First of all, I had no flu-like symptoms. Okay, nothing. In fact, my whole sinuses was completely dry. There was no, and it just felt so strange. In fact, I still to this day, yes, I went on oxygen because my stats was a little bit down. I think the sickest I got was, I think my stats went to 82 and they were a bit worried. So I think when they hit about 89, they put me on oxygen. But I got more sick from the amount of prednisone and cortisone that I was on to treat it than the actual COVID, if that makes any sense. Yes, and I was also on a blood thinner, fair enough. But it makes me think it's a storm in a teacup. I even had a family member that did pass, but he wouldn't take any medication. The man was an absolute naturalist. He wouldn't even take a Panado for like what would have been a flu 20 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever. He just wouldn't take anything. So he did have a thrombosis of the lung. But I think the impact in society has been completely devastating with regards to family members not being able to see each other, old people being locked away, people being terrified. It's just enough now, and we need to get out of our bubbles. And yes, now apparently the stats are coming out of Europe like a whirlwind, but you can tell us more about that. You must have obviously heard today the latest stats, and people are not winning this thing by being vaccinated, it seems.
No, I think Gibraltar is the latest one that's now cancelled Christmas, and their population is, I think, 100% vaccinated for the adults. So it's not made a difference there. So it's to be focusing, and that's where Panda's outlook has been: focus on the people that are at risk, the people that are vulnerable.
Yes.
That's the whole focus protection thing. That was the basis behind the Great Barrington Declaration, all of those things. So look after the vulnerable in a way that still keeps their human dignity, that still looks after them as humans and not people just to be locked away and forgotten about. And then let the rest of the population who isn't at risk of serious disease get COVID or get SARS-CoV-2 infection, because let's specify those are two separate things.
Okay.
Get the infection, and then they can pass on. Then it spreads quickly.
Get immunity, and then it's done. Yeah, which is the way I'm actually so relieved we had it. I really am. I'm actually grateful in a way. It sounds crazy, but yeah. All right, and then obviously the drum roll. So you have your aged, you have your vulnerable, you have your sick, and obviously your immune deficient members of society. But then now we're talking about children. Okay, the ages was 21. When was that? In September. And now I think it's the 20th of October. They did kids from 12 to 17. And this is kind of, and also there's all this business that schools don't need permission from parents to vaccinate, makes me get the heebie-jeebies. So your passion behind all of this, I mean, the reason we connected, if I can just quickly say sorry, is because someone posted a thing on the group that we belong to saying, come to this stadium, we're going to do a registration, bring your IDs and your passports and and we'll register you for this miracle cure. And you were like, no, what the F, basically.
Basically reading between the lines, because I didn't say the F.
No, you did. I'm exaggerating. I'm using hyperbole. So okay, you didn't say that, but tell me why it's an issue for you. Why does it stir such a passion in you, like when it comes to your children?
So I've got 3 boys. Number one, I've seen the effects of the school closures, the lockdowns, the homeschooling, the not seeing friends over the last 2 years. So I think we can all agree with that has been, from a parent's perspective, from a working parent's perspective, but most of all from our children's perspective, how damaging that has been. Number
Correct.
2, we've seen, and parents can disagree, but I see in my children and the children around them at school, my middle child, his school, there've been children that they've become absolutely obsessed with hand sanitizer, and keeping masks on all day, having to do sport with masks on. We can all agree that that's not what we want our children to be living like. We don't want that.
It's not.
No,
it's not good self-image.
Studies, never mind all of that. The point is that our children are being damaged. Then you can take a step back and say, actually, in terms of all the waves of COVID, all of the issues around COVID, what has come up again and again and again is that children are at minimal risk of getting serious COVID, and even more minimal risk of dying. So it comes up again and again across the world. And yes, there's different variants and different people, but we've locked our children's immune systems up for 2 years. What are we doing to them?
Exactly.
And that's where my passion comes in. So it is very clear, and I'm not a scientist. I am a designer, but working with scientists who know what they're talking about. And when they say that children are not at risk of COVID, then I have to say, well, then why do I need to have my children vaccinated? My children do not need to be my protection against disease. That's not their job. That is
They don't
not
need
their
to be the guinea
life.
pigs. They don't, It stops with the person that feels fear and vulnerability and it's and we still don't know. I mean, I'll give a silly example. I mean, people know me by now. My subscribers, my viewers know I've got a tongue-in-cheek sense of humor. So I remember, now we're talking 35 years ago, I had an auntie who, not by relation, but let's call her auntie. She was dying to get bigger boobs. Okay, so you can have a good chuckle. And she had the silicone breast implants. She flew from overseas to come have them done here. It was all the rage. It was all the thing. I think 7 or 8 years later, they started leaking. And she had to have mastectomies, and the one spread into her lymph nodes, and they were stressing that I think she had to actually have a lymph node removed, that it would cause cancer. I mean, this is 35 years ago. Okay, so so it's not too long ago in terms of discovery. And we look at this all the science and all the stuff behind it, and this media push that we've got to do this. This is important. We don't know enough yet about these injections that cause. We don't even know enough about the last set of 20 years ago, all the mRNA vaccines that they've been putting in children. I mean, there's rumors of autism, there's rumors of all sorts of other little autoimmune diseases that these things cause. I just think as parents, we need to wait. You just need to wait, take a step back. There's no rush. I don't know what the world is doing. I mean, I know the earth spins at a few thousand kilometers per hour, but I mean, I don't understand what is our rush to sort of jump on this bandwagon and have this done. It just doesn't make sense to me. We need our trials. We need to check. And you know about this.
Yes. Yeah, no, the trials, that's an ongoing thing. Pfizer is until 2023. So that's when their registered trials finish, phase 3. In South Africa, we were just in a discussion now, a debate, where Dr. Edeling, Herman Edeling, was just talking about, exactly what all the trials mean. And, it's just, there has to be due diligence done in everything. And to bring it back to children, we as parents are like, okay, well, you're going to be going out the house. Have you got this? Have you got this? Do you know? Is the parent staying at the house? We check all of those things. We're incredibly protective of our children. We drive them to school every day in case they have to cross any dangerous roads or anything. And here we're going, oh, I've been told that it's safe, and therefore I'm just going to inject them. That's not reasonable. That's not reasonable as a parent. And that's really what my thing is that parents, you are the last line of defense for your children. And whether you can agree with the vaccines, whether you are someone who feels passionately that vaccines change the world, that is a side issue. The thing is that you need to protect your children and make sure that what's happening to them isn't going to affect them long term. That's part of being a parent.
Yes. No, and I think what's wrong with waiting a year or two? How much longer do you think? What would make you feel comfortable? Or do you think would make the analysts, or I mean, we both have privately discussed how we feel about these things. I tend to, I think the heaviest thing I tend to take is a Panado, if I'm really battling. But I think what would, let's say it was such a killer, right?
What, COVID? Yes.
Like, let's talk Ebola, right?
Yes.
Ebola. or maybe a little bit less, not as serious as Ebola, okay, would you change? Obviously, you'd obviously, I mean, let's be honest, you'd obviously, I mean, do they even have vaccinations for Ebola? I don't even
No,
think they do.
no. But
No, they don't.
remdesivir was one of the treatments for, Tony Fauci's remdesivir that they started. That was being used for Ebola patients, I think.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can look into it. I'm not sure. By the way, just a quick disclosure, we are not doctors. We are not scientists. We are just passionate moms who want to know all the facts. And if you're listening for the first time, please go and look at pandata.org. Sign up. Go and check. They've got all the analytics. They've got all the information, all the scientists, you can email them. You can ask questions. You can contact them, reach out. Please ask questions. You do not have to wear literally not only masks but blindfolds in this day and age. We are living in an information age that, I mean, not everything in the internet is real, but people, you need to research. We really need to research, and you need to do your homework. I wish I'd done more preparation for the show, obviously.
I think that's actually a very good point that you bring up there, is what I think this is where we are as a society as a whole. So as a society, we have been fed absolutely everything. We are being asked, we don't have to think. Our children get, internet fed right into their homes. They don't have to look at encyclopedias anymore. We don't have to go to the library anymore. Everything is given to us. And to a large extent, we have given up our responsibility as people to actually say, well, this is right for me and this is not right for me. Doctors have an incredible place in our society. They have knowledge that we don't have. But at the same time, we have to make sure, for example, this is a very simple one, but one of my kids had antibiotics when they were younger. And, I went with what the doctor said, gave him the antibiotics, completely safe antibiotics. It's been given to how many hundreds of children?
Mm-hmm. So broad spectrum,
yes,
yeah.
It's used by many people. And after a few days, he suddenly started getting a black tongue. And I thought, wow, that's weird. Then I went and looked at the inside, the leaflet that comes with it. Went through the whole thing. I mean, that thing was about, I'm going to move my arms right off the screen. Yes. It was super long.
Yeah.
And right at the end, it said, very rare possible side effects are that you might expect that some children might experience getting a black tongue. So no one knew about that. When I went back to the doctor, I said, are you aware of this? And she said, I actually was not aware. So, we can't expect that people know everything. And this is where we need to make sure we look at packets of cereal. How much sugar is in this cereal? Read through it. Is this going to be good for my family? We do all of that due diligence. We should be doing it about everything.
I'm just going to widen now. No, for sure. I'm just going to widen the screen again. Say how long that leaflet was. Just show again. How long was that leaflet? Yes, no, I've seen some of those non-disclosure, disclosure, T's and C's information leaflets. No, it's crazy. I've even seen, I promise you, I've seen doctors literally take them out and check sometimes, because not even they're sure of everything. No, I mean, who can be? I mean, it's a huge task.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's massive. And here we're just blindly following the herd. And it's like, how do we not know that this could cause severe endometriosis or in women, or lack of, I mean, look at plastics, right? So I'm going to have a bit of a rant. My mother, I used to literally, this is a bit of a joke in the family, I used to take my lunch to school in old Nescafe and mayonnaise glass bottles. I promise you now, when everyone had these Zuby lunch tins, like these fancy plastic Zeiss opening, perfect, like plastic containers, not me. No, I got a glass freaking bottle because mommy believed that plastic causes infertility and gives you cancer. Dun, 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 dun. What happened 20 years ago? 15 years ago, PBAs, blah, 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 cause cancer. Now, if you think that 100 years ago they were treating not only mental depression and mental disorders and mental things with lobotomies. I mean, they declared women who were frustrated and sexually frustrated, what was it? Insane. No, there was some other term that they used. That women were, and they were sent to sanitariums because they were so frustrated. Meanwhile, they needed just a good Jensen, you know. It's true though. Like we think we're masters of the universe as people. We know so little, and yeah, this one's jetting off to the space. I mean, it's all very exciting, but the truth of the matter, we still don't know what lies at the bottom of the ocean. Maybe 1%, right? And here we are experimenting on ourselves. Hello, like wakey. Why would you want to do that to yourself? The data's there. People go to pandata.org, have a look, educate yourself, and make an informed decision. Ne?
So what we've done is our Master of Public Health, brilliant writer person, Abir Balan, has written All Risk, Zero Benefit. And that basically pulls together the research of why these vaccines should not be given to children. She's given the references, she's given the science, she's given everything is there. So it's on our website, All Risk, Zero Benefit. That is one really, really helpful resource. Then the other one is looking at vaccine mandates and how that's dividing society. So that one is Reject the Divide. And this is something for people that have been vaccinated, people that are still trying to decide. We need to look to the future and the future of where our children, we want our children. Since we're referring to the kids here, what kind of society do we want them to grow up in? And I think, especially in South Africa, we should be especially aware of the divide that can come through society and what a damaging effect it has on everything. So Reject the Divide, that's another one that gives the science and the reasons why mandating these vaccines doesn't make sense.
So I see. Say that again, sorry.
There's some pointers for the website.
Yes. So everybody again. So Brandon's saying here, why are we still discussing this? Because Brandon, I mean, I know you personally, but I know that there are lots of people out there, and I belong to quite a few groups, and I see especially parent groups. There are parents literally walking around with blinkers. They are just following the herd, and people need to stop. Woza, and have a look at another thing. Have a look at something else. Just maybe you might discover something. You might think, that actually makes sense. I mean, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I just feel like it's too soon. It's too soon. And we're going through the motions of just gaan maar aan, and we haven't even done, like you say, they've what phase are they on with trials in this country anyways? Phase 3, phase 4. Phase 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the trials that go on to normal vax take up to phase 20 before they even get to human.
I think the final stage is phase 4. That's rollout to humans on a
stage 4.
Yeah.
So we're not even there yet. Okay, there's me thumb sucking. Sorry, people.
But it just Brandon's question is actually, it's valid, because we do talk about this a lot, and it gets. But I think what we need to be aware of is that because we're getting lulled into a false sense of security. I mean, I speak to many South Africans, and everyone's forgotten that we're actually still in lockdown. That is not normal. That shouldn't be accepted. And because our restaurants are open, and because we can go and have a braai with friends, that's not normal. That's not normal life. And so we shouldn't be lulled into this false sense of going, oh, but everything's fine and dandy, and we don't need to think about this anymore. Because coming down the pipeline is Australia. Coming down the pipeline is Lithuania. Coming down the pipeline is Austria and Germany. So, we've got to be really aware of what's going on in the rest of the world, because this is the first time the entire world is experiencing the same thing at the same time. We should be learning from others, not sticking our heads in the sand and going, oh, well, it's not going to come here. But it's the same thing happening everywhere. So we mustn't become complacent and just think that everything's just hanky-dory, because it isn't. For example, the expat industry in South Africa still cannot operate at full capacity. Right there is an entire industry that didn't get any help from government and still cannot operate.
No, and there's so many jobs lost in that, and opportunities and information and education, and it's insane. But on the same coin, people could say, yeah, but if we all vaccinate, we can do all of that again. And I just think to myself, fair enough, but at what price? At what price to be told and ruled that you can? I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but I just think of Nazi ruled Germany. And that's what gets my goat, is that, yes, if I felt it, look, first of all, my fat percentage on my body, okay, is literally double on what it should be. I should have Blixen dead down when I got this flu, okay? I should have been 6 feet under by now, but for some God-known reason, I'm still here, okay? There have been fitter people that have gotten it that did not manage to survive. But I just think it's so important that if I can survive this with the treatment that's out there, we don't have to act like crazy chickens without heads. We don't have to do this. We have to slow down and take a step back and evaluate what is important. Stop trying. I think also it's creating such divide between family, and it's like almost what happened in America. If you're a Trump supporter or a Go Brandon supporter,
Go Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. It doesn't. It's trying to divide us, the world, and whether the East has anything to do with it, whether the Middle East has anything to do with it, whoever the world, there's such conspiracy and there's such nonsense. People step the hell off the inner spinning top, because we're not the center of the universe. We are infantile in our ways, in our processes. We still have so much more to learn. Panda, and it's pandata.org.
Yes. Pandemics, data, and analytics.
There we go. Have a look, educate yourself, start spreading your vision and seeing what you can learn. And as mothers, we need to be held more accountable. We need to make sure we know. We can't just, I'm guilty. I stuck my son 10 years ago in front of a PlayStation. I was a single mom, struggling with work, exhausted in the evenings, and I just thought I need a babysitter. Whoosh. There's the PlayStation. Have fun, my boy. Well, I don't know if that was I don't particularly think. They now say that some things can be learned from it. Look, he's spelling because he likes strategic games, not just the FIFA.
Good.
And he's learned spelling and reading, and he's learned skills, map reading and geography, and he loves history. But, there's a price to pay. I know that. He is a very antisocial, and what's sad is this lockdown has made him more so. And he's 16. He should be living it up, going to the malls with friends, having a jolt, sleepovers, parties. God, when I was 16, I wasn't even a virgin anymore. You know what I mean? Okay, TMI there. But you know what I mean? Like, come on, people. Like, really? So, yeah. Sorry. Nikki, you make me feel very comfortable.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, No.
Yeah, I just want to say that one of the big keys, and this is where when COVID doesn't become scary, is when you know that there are ways to treat it. And one of the big ways that incredible doctors like Dr. Peter McCullough advocate is early treatment. Don't wait until you're sitting at home blue. And that is what our health authorities were telling us. They said you can't go to the hospital. You have to sit at home until you can't breathe anymore, and then you must come to the hospital. So, yeah. So there are treatments. You have to know there's many doctors that know how to treat COVID, and that you don't have to get sick. It's not a killer disease in every single case, despite what the newspapers tell you. I mean, the newspapers are telling you that everyone is at risk of serious COVID. It's not true. It's not true. It's still the older age group. And I know that in one of the Pandas presentations, older people are 1,000 times more susceptible to serious COVID than the younger ones. That's a huge difference. But that also doesn't mean that old people must be locked away and never spoken to. That doesn't mean that either.
No.
I mean, I literally to find the balance, and finding that balance means discovering our humanity and discovering who we are as people, and being able to say, this is right, this is not right, and being able to stand on those morals rather than letting people and big pharma and mainstream media and everything just sweep
big
us
business,
along,
big business.
Yeah.
It's just, and there's that adage that, oh, money talks, but still the people have power, and we forget this. We have become, I don't know, I woke up this morning and I was cynical. I was so cynical. I was just like, there's too much going on that we're not standing up for. I mean, currently, besides there is a petition on, or at least, yeah, it's the, let me just quickly see it here. Wrong. It's the Panda. I saw it just now, so I think I've signed it, so it's gone off. It's the petition that people say is the what?
Declaration for the Protection of Children and Young People from the COVID response.
Yes, so it's on the Panda website, Pandata website. And it's something that needs to be signed to say we will think about the consequences of tomorrow, of the future. And yeah, I think we've touched on a lot of interesting points, and people want to. I think the world wants to divide us in some way. There's this whole: are you pro? Are you anti? And I just think we need to be bigger than that. We need to honestly be bigger than that. And like you say, parents need to step up and not just follow the herd.
Absolutely.
And if you've done your research,
responsible for our children.
Yeah, we don't know what down the line it's going to cause. Like I said, endometriosis, some form of bone cancer, God forbid, some form of optical. We don't know. We have no idea. Yes, there are symptoms coming out. I mean, it's funny now they say, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you know all the data, that more people are being admitted now for blood clots and stroke and heart attack in hospitals now more than ever. And I don't know, can you confirm that?
So this is where it gets difficult because the data isn't there to say that this is what it is. But it could also, I mean, the data has been manipulated throughout this, we know. So we can't actually say that that is the reason. But in terms of, reporting to the adverse event reporting systems, like VAERS, like the yellow cards, Eudravigilance, all of those were set up as signaling platforms for the drug companies to see if there were issues with their vaccines. And the indications are on this that there's been a lot of reports. And so they are obligated to look at all these reports, look at them and investigate them and say, well, there's a very, very big signal here. We should be looking at this. They should be. Myocarditis, pericarditis in especially young males is of real concern.
What's that again? Say it again. Say it again.
Myocarditis.
Myo. Oh, myocarditis. It's a heart condition.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So what we're told as the public is those things resolve very quickly. The child is sick with myocarditis for a very short while, and then it completely resolves itself. But you speak to a heart specialist, and the heart specialist says, but that leaves scarring on the heart. You don't know what is going to happen to their heart further down the line. So, we're told that, we're flippantly told that we don't need to worry, but we need to be concerned because there are signals that are saying that there's a problem and it should be looked at.
No, for sure. It's like what's happening. I'm going to just quickly talk about a big fuel company that's now attacking our south coast, and I think I shared on my group that that is a petition to sign to have it stopped and withheld. I don't know if South Africa is going to benefit from it. We don't know what government has to play, what the agricultural mineral and department has got to do with it. But as South Africans, I think so many of us live in our bubbles, and as society and humanity in general, we just live in our bubbles and we carry on with life. And I think this pandemic has shown us that we can't do that anymore. We just can't. We have to hold everything, our value system, our morals, our own feelings of right and wrong, to a higher level.
I think South Africans are in a bit of a unique position because we are so used to not getting stuff. We're so used to not trusting our government. We're so used to all of that. We should actually be able to very easily move from, you're telling me that everything is fine and dandy and hanky-dory, but actually I need to check it. But I think, so much of what we do as South Africans is just get on with it. We know we're not going to be helped. We just get on with it. And a lot of that has to do with just sticking our heads in the sand. We're just going to make do. And I think that kind of attitude in this case, in surviving South Africa on a daily basis is fantastic. South Africans can do anything. I have huge belief in it. But it does mean that we need to actually start looking at what's happening around us, looking at the effects of what it is that's happening.
No, definitely. Oh, thank you, Nikki. Really, so pandata.org, people. Go and check them out. Go and read up, fill in their, what's it called again? What are they doing? Not a petition,
Declaration.
Declaration. Okay.
Yes.
Just to say that we object, right? That we have an issue. We will not go quietly into the night. We will not comply.
It's about making sure that our children are protected. We've seen the damage. There is mountains of research on the damage that's occurred to children, the suicide levels that are up, the self-harm levels that are up. There's mountains of it. They don't deserve it.
No. And no, for sure. But thank you so much. I think we've covered all our bases, and
are there any questions that we haven't answered?
No, I think pretty much. I think we've covered basically everything. Is there anything in the audience that they'd like to ask Nikki? Ask it now. But yes, so I think it's so. Pardon?
Or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think thank you so much, and to you, Nikki and Nick Hudson, for having the courage to speak out and to not follow the herd, and to really try and educate people and bring the facts to the table, and let people make their own decisions. I think I salute you. I know that you can donate to the organization. That's also on their website. So I think, oh yes, so Tracy has a valid point here. It comes down to this: who do we trust? Who is telling us the truth? It's hectic, but you know what?
A very good question. Can I just say, I think what we need to do is to measure our truth against what the result of it is. So if we were to behave as a society that respects the rights of others, that looks after the freedoms and the liberties of other people, what are we losing by that? Whereas if we are going for a society that is pushing more and more towards people that cannot speak out, people that are silenced, people that don't have a voice anymore, what society are we leaving there? So I think it is up to you to decide, but I think we have to look at what the outcome of our decisions and whatever truth it is that you want to follow, what are the outcomes of that?
And I mean, experiment the truth on yourself. Don't subjugate your children to it just yet. Hang in there. Let them get it right first. Let them get it right. I think Brandon's got a rather loaded question here. Nikki, define COVID-19. I don't know if you look, Brandon. She isn't a white coat. She said so in the beginning, but I mean, if you want to go ahead, you're welcome to.
Do work with them. So let me define COVID-19. COVID-19 is the disease that you might develop from the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So when you say that I have a positive COVID test, that is incorrect. When you go and have a PCR test, you are getting a positive SARS-CoV-2 test, which means that you have pieces of the SARS-CoV-2 virus that they have tested and found in your system. You don't have COVID necessarily. COVID is coronavirus disease.
Okay.
Does that answer you?
Brandon, does that answer your question? Here's a question from Erica, but I don't know if I catch. Can we get letters from doctors? In terms of so I think what she means, exemption letters. So she like for instance, so are they doctors that are willing to put, I think they are, willing to put their name, but a lot of them have been discredited by big pharmaceutical and by big hospital groups to say that, okay, let's say Erica has an autoimmune disease, for example. I don't know if she does or doesn't have one, but that she cannot be, there's an exclusion. That if she gets such an injection, she may develop very well a severe heart condition.
So this is the problem. Number one, in South Africa, there isn't such a thing, in my knowledge, as a medical exemption. We found that really, really early on when parents were trying to fight for unmasking our kids. So that was a sort of a sub-organization where we were trying to get that done. There is no such thing as medical exemption in South Africa. But this is the point that no one is talking about. There are people that cannot have the vaccine. Now you're wanting to create a segregated society where they're not allowed to have access to all sorts of things. So literally their bodies cannot take it. Are you okay with saying, well, therefore you are not allowed to participate in society?
Yeah, you become a subhuman. You become a subhuman.
So that's something that's never spoken about.
Correct.
So on our website, we do have resources. There's legal resources where we've got letters to employers, letters from various others to lawyers. It's all sorts of legal stuff on there. So you can go and look on there and see if there's stuff that you can download and adjust for your own purposes. But there are resources.
Great. Excellent. Okay. No, brilliant stuff. And Brandon's thanking you for taking time to answer his question. A gentleman as always. So Erica just mentioned she suffers from trigeminal, I don't know if I'm saying this right, neuralgia. Okay, so I think that's a disease of the muscles and the nerves. Something? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But obviously it sounds quite serious, and I think, yeah, we'll contact the website and find out, Erica. Yeah, reach out.
I think
Find
that's
out.
really, that's tragic. I'm so sorry, Erica, that's what's happening, because it's not right. You shouldn't be discriminated against for something that you don't actually have control over anyway. That's the whole premise behind not being able to ask people's AIDS status or HIV status. We're not allowed to do that in this country. We cannot discriminate in this country. And here we are discriminating. It's wrong.
And it's going, I think now we're only at the tip bottom rung of the ladder, or at the bottom of the mountain. I think it's going, if I see what's happening overseas, and South Africa unfortunately does, we do follow the narrative of the Northern Hemisphere, and we do get tumbled into the whole tumbleweed sort of kinetic, inertia of what's happening in the world. And it mustn't be allowed, because hopefully South Africans will stand up. But I honestly, I spoke to someone today from an outside location. She was a waitress, and she just said, no, well, they get a free meal voucher, or they get a free. And it's very compelling for someone who only brings home 1,400 Rand a month to get an extra 100 Rands voucher worth of groceries. It's actually, yeah.
But anyway, that's coercion.
Yeah.
Is that people deciding when you are paying people to take something? Is that them deciding freely, or are they feeling forced to take it? If so, isn't that coercion? We need to be asking questions, and I think that's where it's really important. South Africans, we can get really comfortable where we are. We've got wonderful weather. We've got an amazing country. We never have to leave our borders. We've got the entire world right at our fingertips. But the thing is that we need to remember is that whatever happens overseas, it's happened all the way through the world, that it eventually finds its way. And all of this stops when we all have the courage to say, this is actually not okay. And I am hoping that as parents, I'm really hoping that as parents, we say, this is not okay. My children are not going to be experimented on, because these are experimental vaccine candidates. So we need to take a stand. We have to draw a line in the sand.
Definitely. Pendata.org.
And still remember that South Africa is an amazing place. We live in an incredible country with people that are willing and giving. And every single time that one person says, I'm taking a stand and drawing a line in the sand, it gives someone else the courage to say, you know what, actually, I'm not going to do it. And ultimately it spreads.
Yeah. No, you've been a source of courage to me, and on that group, I know I didn't verbatim quote you there in the beginning of the conversation, but but it was like a beacon of light, because I was feeling so negative and so overwhelmed by the media, the bombardment. So thank you so much for coming on and giving us your intuitive, your expertise, your passion, your opinion, your valued opinion. All righty. So thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks Erica, Brandon, Roadrunner, Melissa, everybody, Tracy. Thank you so much for joining us. If I didn't catch you, sorry. It's like the Oscars. I have to thank everybody else. I get into trouble.
I'd like to thank my mommy and my daddy.
Yeah, my mommy and my daddy. Without you, I wouldn't be here. Yes. So yes. All right, people. Till hopefully next Tuesday, there'll be no load shedding on my side and your side, so we can do this again. But Check you all later. Have a lekker weekend. Apparently it's going to be storming in Gauteng, so get out your wellies and your dry max and enjoy it. TTFN, everybody. Bye.
Bye.